Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. I'm talking in front of the camera again, so you know it's going to be some type of a dramatic video, but in today's video, we're going to be talking about if you should wait on buying or purchasing your first NFA item until the $0 tax stamp goes into effect January 1st, 2026. For the first time since 1934, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, AOWs, and also suppressors are going to be void of a $200 tax stamp. What that means is these devices are now going to be $0 from this point forward to submit. And this brings up a lot of great questions and possible lawsuits because it is essentially, at this point now, very much so, just a registry for those items. I would absolutely not wait until January 1st to purchase your first NFA item, and here are the reasons why. I am coming at this from working in a gun shop for a decade and being intimately familiar with the NFA e-form system and the NFA system as a whole. The shop that I had the pleasure of working at full-time for many years was one of the highest suppressor transfer shops in the central Pennsylvania area as a whole, and we did an extensive amount of transfers, and I was able to see firsthand situations like the pistol brace amnesty period that allowed you, similarly to what's going to happen January 1st, to submit a Form 1 on a pistol that had a brace and get essentially a free SBR tax stamp that came along with a registry. The individuals that submitted those, the very first hour, the first few hours that was open, waited a bare minimum of 90 days, and I had some people waiting over 6 to 12 months to finally get a notification of approval on their Form 1. At this point in time in the NFA e-form system, you may not know if you haven't submitted up until now, but I have been seeing records as low as 13 minutes for an individual Form 4 on the ATF e-form system. And that is void of the silencer shop kiosk that usually extends that period by a few days. If you go to a shop that submits it directly, you are looking at an average time of 24 to 48 hours. The reason you should submit now and not January 1st is I would almost guarantee you with 100% certainty that wait times are going to skyrocket. The e-form system, unless the ATF, shockingly, make their system better to hire more employees to submit electronic submissions for the ATF, the wait times are going to skyrocket. And I can promise you that there, across the entire country, are going to be people in any state that NFA items are legal, once they see the news headlines that there's no more tax stamp, because that's probably what the news is going to say. There's going to be a huge misconception and people are going to assume you no longer need the paperwork, and it will be chaos in gun stores that sell NFA items. There are already phone calls coming in of people assuming that today, right now, they can come in, get their suppressor, and walk out with it, with not only not having to pay a $200 tax stamp, but not having to do any paperwork whatsoever. So if you wait, you will be behind all of those people. So I'm going to say something that's going to sound a little ridiculous, but at this point, you would essentially be paying the $200 tax stamp for expedited shipping on your NFA item. Think of it like that. And the shipping is the approval of your Form 4. I'm speaking realities here. In my mind, every part of the NFA process is unconstitutional, should not exist, and you shouldn't need to pay any money. I'm not saying that I'm not glad that you no longer have to pay $200. But what I'm telling you is, as much as you hate paying $200, I guarantee you, if you've never had an NFA item before, you're going to hate waiting months to possibly a year to get your NFA item. And I know that because I'm coming from a time when all we had were paper Form 4s, and I've waited upwards of 13 months to get an NFA item. And over the course of 13 months, if you would have asked me if I would have rather paid $200 to get that in 2 days versus $0 to get it in 13 months, I would have told you time and time again that I would have rather paid $200 to get it in 2 days. I'm not trying to say that the $200 is valid or that we should have to pay it. Coming from somebody that has submitted probably in the thousands of forms for individuals out there over my time in gun shops. Something else to factor in here, over the course of shops being absolutely tidal waved with essentially retail customer nightmares, I'm telling you like it is, they are probably going to increase NFA transfer fees, because you are now going to have lines of customers out the door that want to get their item, that are getting their items transferred in, and that are taking employee time away from anybody, any standard person that would just like to simply purchase a firearm or purchase anything else in the store. The time involved with the process from people that are unfamiliar with that process is quite extreme. So you could see an increase in processing cost. And now that there is no $200 tax stamp associated with the transfer of that item, suppressor manufacturers are now going to say, well, there's no $200 anymore. We can definitely crank up the price of these suppressors because the demand is so high. The supply is going to be far too low to meet the demand. So you could see suppressor prices increase, SBR prices increase. All of those things could go up. Transfer fees into the stores could go up to essentially match that $200 transfer tax that you would normally pay. I've already seen shops advertising that they would allow you to purchase a suppressor now and let it wait until January. This is a great ploy to sell a lot of suppressors, and you are seeing this primarily from online suppressor dealers. And the reason you are seeing this is because they are not the ones dealing with the suppressor transfer, the actual work at the gun store. So they will sell you these all day long. They will backload the entire list out the ass as much as they want to, because come January 1st, they're just sending them all out to gun stores. They don't give a shit about the lines because they're not the ones actually dealing with them. So they're going to sell you those all day long and promise you that, hey, we're doing you a favor here, but they're not going to tell you about the probably $130 to $200 transfer fee you're going to pay at a gun shop and the line of 50 people you're going to get behind, all screaming as to why they have to do this paperwork because they saw on CNN that they don't have to do the paperwork anymore. So if you want an NFA item, you've made the call, you've made the decision that, you know what, I want to jump into the NFA world. Submit now, get your item in 2 days, and come the apocalyptic gun store 2020 style tidal wave that's probably going to happen. You're going to be sitting there with your item saying, you know what, I'm happy that I listened to that dude on YouTube saying just buy it now because I got it in 2 days. Not a big deal. I'm foreseeing the future. None of that is factually accurate. That is all anecdotal based off my past experiences with things very, very similar to what we are going to see. We are probably going to be looking anywhere between 1 and 3 years for that system to finally normalize again. If they can't handle the workload, we have not always had the ATF E-form system. They could just as easily say that the servers can't handle the workload, therefore we are going back to paper NFA submission moving forward. We do not have the manpower to support an E-forms help center, to support E-form operators, so therefore back to paper. It is what it is. Wait 13 months, wait 14 months. That's what paper used to be. That could just as easily happen if they cannot go with the demand. And remember, this is all coming in roughly 5 to 6 months from now, which is not enough time for the government to work and make sure their servers are up to this task. So I'm sick and tired of gun attorney people getting on here and talking like they know how a suppressor transfer works with never working in a gun store and never having any understanding of how an NFA transfer works at all. And never even owning an NFA item themselves. But they're going to get on here because they're paid by gun rights organizations to market essentially a product. And the product is the gun rights organization donation. Okay, that's what they're paid to push you. They're paid to do that. So just remember that. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Not trying to be overly frustrated, but I just see the bullshit coming. So hopefully it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. Buy your suppressor now and get your item in 2 days. Or get your Form 1 in 5 to 6 days. Get your items now if you're planning on getting them now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment down below what you think of this video. I'll try my hardest to get back to you. And as always, stay tuned for more great content coming soon.